more sights, sounds, and rounds. Set sail at the proverbial 11th hour, which for clarity can be any o'clock that precedes a pivotal event. In this case, the discovery that my familial elder's Bloomberg washer-dryer had, once again, stalled before the final phase of its swift full load program, which should have taken half the length of this soft-pedalled suburban excursion to freshen up a light mixed bundle of cotton loungewear, threadbare bed linens, and one waffle-weave woolen jumper, which I'm informed irrevocably stretches if rotated at cadences above 600 RPM, and shrinks whenever tumble-dried, even in lukewarm wind. Therefore, a boiled wash, followed by maximum centrifugal force, and a brief blast of hot air should, in theory, perfectly preserve both its shape and proportions. Regardless, the recurrent reason for this temperamental home laundering appliance to suspend its domestic duties was a perceived lack of water in its ultra-sensitive drum, as was indicated by a flashing tap symbol on the LED display. Pressing play, with a stern instruction to "pull your weight," persuaded the machine to rumble back into life. The 30 or so miles of strictly deconstructed coastal meandering that followed were accompanied by a seasonably fresh onshore breeze, bereft of any Antarctic tingle, but still belying Mystic Met's ethermal optimism, at least from the perspective of thin-skinned mortals travelling at speeds exceeding those of an intoxicated bumblebee. Amidst a dappled tapestry that cloaked the verdant cultivation surrounding St. Mary's heavenly sanctuary, I observed clusters of late-blooming daffodils, standing stalk to stem with daisies, dandelions, buttercups, and other perfectly placed weeds, all huddled beneath the budding branches of their silent wooden sentinels, bathed in silver rays of thinly veiled sunshine, and eagerly awaiting the feathered Philharmonic's golden-billed concertmaster to musically embody their radiant beauty with his soul-stirring serenade. Several mindfully mid-tempo kilometres of suburban circuitry later, I pulled up at the second of this semi-subsidised workout's collection points to pick up a small unmarked parcel containing what I suspected was highly volatile vaping equipment. The proprietor was engaged in reporting an interval of antisocial behaviour to the police, or failing that, any local authority that might have been available to listen. He was making an effort to be discreet, though I distinctly overheard the phrases graffiti, vandalising a bus stop shelter, and kicking over traffic cones between his interactions with other customers, one of whom was complaining that the shop no longer operated as a drop-off point for UPS parcels, whilst the one across the road had ceased accepting those sent via DPD or DHL. I discreetly departed without suggesting they try the stationery store opposite our town's primary co-op branch, since last year this was where I'd had to drop off a faulty headphone amplifier for shipping back to Germany, using at least one of the aforementioned couriers on 3 separate occasions, though upon my recent return there to convey a bagged Big Arch burger and Belgian-style fries to its desk-bound owner, I couldn't recall seeing any logistical logos, and thus remained silent. And somewhat later, after an approaching spring equinox's crepuscular veil had enveloped most of Europe, I attempted to relish the kind of resolutely deregulated role that used to serve as recreational relief for rubbery limbs and a reef-knotted core following unlogged sessions of bodyweight-based exercises, best undertaken at least 10 miles from any CrossFit gym, assuming, that is, you care about form, technique, and completing your workout with functional rotator cuffs. Such tried-and-trusted incarnations of cyclotherapy might have had their desired effect at this overcast witching hour, were it not for the resurgent brothers of bluster, unleashing curtains of drizzle upon Shoreham's breeze-battered peninsula, and using every turbulent assault in their augmenting arsenal to render the challenge of staying upright every choppy pedal stroke as tricky as avoiding rearranged road furniture. Throughout 90 tumultuous minutes of impromptu suburban circuitry, with saddle and hang time playing out as free will saw fit, I exchanged many sympathetic glances with St. Beaufort's patriotic weather vanes, whipped into flappy frenzies by nature's unseen assailants, and longing to begin their repurposed careers as makeshift tea-towels, whilst even the mightiest oaks guarding Southwick's village green appeared rocked to their sturdy roots. Countless capsized casualties arising from this omnipotent elemental tag team's tempestuous antics also lay scattered across the gutters and curbsides within our town's sheltered period quarter, including homeless pot plants, fugitive shopping trolleys, and numerous unwitting participants in their eternal 10-bin bowling tournament, who, having just been relieved of the substantial ballast provided by a fortnight's worth of biodegradable landfill, could no longer stand up to those dreaded double gusts.